To approve the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Seconded. Discussion. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Chair votes aye. It's unanimous. Agenda's approved. There are no covenant and bond releases, so we're going to move on to the first topic, which is the continued public meeting for Stratton Hill. As you see on the board, on the screen behind my head, this is the process we'll be following this evening. Just as a general reminder, this is a long road. You know, we've had discussions, but please anticipate that there are going to be many such discussions, and we've got a long ways to go, precisely because there's so much material that's weighty and merits consideration, and that we're going to give it all the consideration that is required. That said, I'd like to turn it over to our town planner and get his comments. Then afterwards, we can go to the applicant, the board can all ask questions, and then it'll be open to the public to ask questions. Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There are two primary things I would like to provide the board and the public with an update on this evening. The first is an update on the peer-reviewed traffic study. And the second is the status of the conservation management permit. I had a conversation with Lori Glorioso at the Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program of the Division of Fisheries and Wildlife, and I will report my conversation with her after we discuss the traffic study. As you all know, the applicant hired Vaness and Associates to prepare a traffic study for them. And in order to do our due diligence as a planning board, I recommended that we hire a peer review traffic reviewer to review that study, as well as to coordinate the study of any other topics that are related to the road network and the subdivision that were not studied in the Vaness study. So to that end, I prepared a request for proposal, most of which was completed back in late 2021, which the board did review extensively back then. I want to mention too that doing this sort of RFP is not an exact science, and that there are opportunities once we choose an applicant, once we choose our consultant, to do what's called a scoping meeting. So we have a meeting with the applicant, with the consultant, and we say, here's what we have, does this sound reasonable, or there are things that need to be tweaked, that we need to put more emphasis on this intersection or that intersection, how do, whatever it may be. What you see in writing here can be modified based on consultation with our consultant.
Excuse me,
yes.
with your permission? If I understand you clearly, then I think what we're getting at is the request for proposal is not a final delineation of what might be covered.
Correct. Well,
when we meet with the scope meeting with
right.
someone we favor, we can refine and our focus.
Right. Okay. Right. Well, we hope that we captured most of the main issues, certainly. And so to that end, over the last 2 weeks, I sent out 5 or 6 requests for proposals to various firms. Several of those could not participate because of their workload or conflicts of interest. But there are 3 that look promising, and 2 of which I know will be getting us a proposal. Hopefully by next week. So my hope is that by the next planning board meeting on July 26th, that we will have some proposals to review and discuss.
Okay, good.
For that meeting. So that's the update on the traffic.
Any board members have any comments about the RFP itself or the process, or where we stand with that?
The only thought I had, I guess we take it up when we get to the level of awarding the contract, is that I'm just making a presumption that there'll be DPW will have an input as well in helping the consultant look at the road widths, the road
right.
structure,
Oh,
the records that they have.
Yes.
So beyond necessarily the consultant, we'll be working with DPW on, they'll be working with
Right.
DPW,
Yes.
reporting back to
Yes.
us on
Yes.
anything that they may add to the other
Right.
records they may have.
Yep. So in addition to our scoping meeting, You know, we could have a separate meeting with the DPW director, or we can invite him to our meeting if we wish, but
Excellent.
we'll see how it goes. We've done this several times with all the other major subdivisions we've had, as well as major site plans like Alltown
Yep.
and the McDonald's.
Excellent, thank you. Jeff, I believe you had a comment?
Yeah, I would like to ensure that we maintain, that we keep a focus on not just vehicular traffic, but we also look at cycling traffic and walking foot traffic. Ayer is sometimes very short on resources for walking. Sidewalks don't exist everywhere. It's something we've been trying to ameliorate over the years. But there's also a lot of cycling traffic that happens, and I think I shared heat maps with some of you. So I just want to make sure that when we get the proposal, that we take a look at the amount of cycling that happens there, because what we find out is that is one of the most popular used routes in the local area for cyclists. And that's just the small portion of cyclists who track it. So I just want to make sure that that gets part of it, is included too, please.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
Good.
Yep.
Mark?
Okay, if there are no further discussion on the traffic study, I'll move on to the conservation management permit. So basically, as background, and those on the Conservation Commission here, or people in the know about these sort of things better than I, may chime in after I give my little report. But basically, it's my understanding that due to the location of the subdivision in an area that's significant wildlife habitat with an endangered species, the Blanding's turtle, that there's a requirement to do what's called a conservation management plan, which leads to the issuance of a conservation management permit for work that is undertaken in those areas. And right, so it comes under the Mass Endangered Species Act, and it's administered by the Natural Heritage Endangered Species Program, which is a division of Fisheries and Wildlife. So I have some notes from my conversation with Lauren Glorioso, who is a staff person there.
Could you clarify, she's staff person where?
At the Natural Heritage and Endangered
Okay,
Species
thank you.
Program.
Yeah, so we're talking about this permit right now.
Correct.
Okay,
Right,
so people
right.
are
So just
aware.
so, divisions of fisheries and wildlife, the conservation and management permit that was issued, where's the date on this?
2005.
2005, thank you,
right.
sir.
Okay. Ready?
We're ready.
All right. The original CMP for both Stratton Hill and Rocky Hill subdivisions in Groton, because it was all one permit, actually, for the subdivision in Groton as well as the proposal in Ayer, was issued in 2005, which included both subdivisions and mitigation for Blanding's turtle and spotted turtle. Please note that spotted turtle is no longer a state-listed species. That will come into importance a bit later in my statement here. Conservation management permits can be amended when a plan is revived. For this CMP to be amended, it must also be extended, I guess, time-wise. It is a procedural issue that the applicant did not request an extension before the CMP expired, which will be resolved with the amendment. So that's the amendment. The applicant will need to, and this is Mr. Moulton and Collins, the applicant will need to A, request an extension amendment to the original CMP in writing, provide an updated plan and impact calculations, C, show compliance with all CMP conditions, i.e. nesting habitat creation must be finalized. And that's something she emphasized in the phone conversation, that the turtle nesting replication areas, I believe, must be actually completed. And D, update the land protection documents and the open space plan for adjusted limit of work.
Right.
And then she goes on to say, please note that the project must complete the Mass Environmental Policy Act, MEPA. I know, MEPA and MESA, so it's hard to get those straight sometimes. Notice the project change process and receive a certificate for that before Fish and Wildlife can issue a new CMP amendment. And then last Friday, I asked her some additional questions, and she stated that in 2005, the land preservation requirements under MESA were actually stronger than they are now. in part because the spotted turtle is no longer listed as a threatened species. So back then it was. So that required additional land to be set aside for them. In 2010, there was also a regulatory change setting a maximum ratio for the land to be preserved, which, if applied now, could result in less land needing to be set aside for the threatened species. So she made it sound very clear to me that, you know, the best environmental outcome would be an amendment and extension of the 2005 Conservation Management Plan. So that is what I believe the applicant is now seeking from them. And again, I am not an expert on this process. I'm learning as I go, so.
Would it be appropriate at this point, and if I can ask the applicant to comment
Sure.
on where they are? So if I
Yes.
could ask the representative of the applicant to just give us an update where they stand with this management permit, and especially in light of the information our town planners just shared?
Yeah, so we've,
Just remind everyone who you are.
Bob Collins, I'm the attorney for Fox Meadow Realty Corp. and Molten Construction.
Thank you.
We've had an ongoing working relationship with Lauren Glorioso. She's the senior review biologist, so she's actually not a staff person. She's the review biologist that reviews what's being submitted and what needs to be done. And we've talked to them over the last, 3 years regarding this amendment. And what the game plan is at this point is to get through the preliminary plan process, make certain we have a plan that schematically looks the way it should, and then we'll be applying for the both change of project under the MEPA approval, and then applying for a modification to the CMP.
Do you have any idea how long that takes?
Actually, not terribly long. In both instances, about 30 days, start to finish. So it's more of an administrative process than anything. In the case of the CMP, this is a site, Groton and Ayer, that had an extended review. This probably occupied 4 years of their time going through all of this, so they're very familiar with this site. They're familiar with this part of the site because we've talked to them over the last 3 years about the merits of going from the plan that was approved years ago to your new open space zoning variant. So they're very familiar with it. I don't think there'll be an issue. Nobody is seeking to increase density, and it actually increases the land that's going to be protected. The one thing that's interesting, even though the regulation has changed in a couple of respects, they do use a formula that generally that I kind of go by. For every acre of disturbance, they like 2 acres set aside. We're way beyond that on this one. And on this site, as I say, if you consider it overall, at the end of the day, when both sides of the site are completed, there will be roughly 700 acres, of which approximately 60 acres was disturbed and the rest was permanently protected.
And you're combining both the
Yeah,
Groton and Ayer
Ayer.
properties. I
And
just
that was
wanted
the
to
game
clarify that for
plan.
everybody. Okay.
Yeah, but that was the game plan from day one back in
Right.
1998 when this whole thing started.
Thank you. And I just want to underline something you said earlier about the timeline. That in order to resolve the CMP,
Yeah.
we first have to arrive at least a schematic understanding through the preliminary plan process.
That's
first.
correct.
So we continue with the preliminary plan, and that would eventually provide an understanding for Fisheries and Wildlife to understand what, if anything, has changed
That's correct.
for the necessary extension or amendment of the CMP.
That's
Is that,
correct.
I'm so far I'm okay?
Yeah, and
Okay.
what I had thought, there's always a lag between preliminary approval and
Yes.
definitive plan submission, so that Stan can do all the engineering, and we felt that we would use that time frame to go through that administrative process after we finish with this leg of this portion with you guys.
Thank you. And just for everyone, I'll get to you in a second, Ken. Just to understand is that typically in the preliminary plan is like it says, it's kind of just a conceptual sketch of what's going to be that allows further decision making and research. But it's at the definitive stage where we get really into the serious engineering.
That's correct.
Like where water, sewer, stormwater, all that utilities, all the complicated stuff that on the ground
Nuts and
stuff
bolts.
takes place. Yes, thank you. Okay, good. Anything else, Mr. Collins?
That's it.
So I'd like to open it up to the board. Ken, I'll
Yeah.
recognize you first.
Through the chair to Mark and Mr. Collins.
So do you want me to stay here?
Yeah.
Yeah, please
okay.
do, please do.
So I've
Stan
got,
ought to come up as well then.
having the permit here, that there's a large section at the back that talks about deed and trust, you know, for the open space.
That's correct.
Does that answer need to be done now to change the CMP? In other words, do we have to determine who's gonna take control? In the approved permit, it's the Town of Ayer Conservation Commission. That's the current language.
I don't think you necessarily need to. I think the main thing is that everybody needs to understand that it's going to be either the town or Fish and Wildlife or a conservation entity.
So the language in our conservation restriction that's in the open space OSRD would probably comply with that.
Yes, yeah. And this is going to be a deed in fee, so this won't be a restriction. The land is gonna be deeded, as we did with
Okay, but
the
there'll be a
Audubon
CR on
site.
it, on top of that. Someone will have us hold a conservation restriction unless we change it to Fish and Wildlife. We won't get into that.
Yeah,
But
but
my
actually you
concern-
don't need to if it goes to the town or to Fish and Wildlife.
So my
Oh,
concern-
that's interesting.
So my
Okay.
concern is that we don't have to be aware of a change in the open space ownership at this stage. It can be amended later if something comes up. That's my question.
That's correct.
Ann, does that make sense to you? I'm Matt reaching out to the audience.
Well, obviously, I've been following this for quite some time, and Fish and Wildlife would prefer to own the open space set aside in fee so that it's absolutely protected. It would be considered Article 97 land
Okay.
under the state constitution, so it would take 2/3 of the state legislature if we for some reason wanted to divest.
But we don't have to agree to amend this language now, is what I'm getting at. We can do that sometime in the process.
Right, but I think it's a good idea, quite frankly, for the planning board during the preliminary process to indicate to the applicant that, yes, fee of the open space set aside to Fish and Wildlife would be okay with us, kind of thing.
Or preferable.
Kind of-
Yeah, or
Yeah.
preferable,
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah, that,
I'm putting that out there as something for us as a goal to
yeah.
talk about, right?
Right,
Well,
yes,
that does sound.
yes.
And if, and again, forgive my density. If it is a fish, if it moves, if it's deeded to Fisheries and Wildlife, then the CR, then we don't have to worry about the conservation restriction issue at all. That's off the
Exactly.
table.
That's right.
Okay.
That's one of the
Chris,
pros, so
Yeah.
to speak.
Mr. Chair,
I'll
if I may.
acknowledge Jeff.
If I may
Yeah.
suggest, I think Ken's question of, do we have to do it now, has been sufficiently answered by
Yeah,
Mr.
okay.
Collins. I think this is an issue that, as a board, we're going to have to kind of focus in on at
We
some
will,
point.
exactly.
And I think it's probably appropriate at a later time to sit down and discuss the different pluses and minuses of a conservation restriction versus a deeded or a fee simple deed to another organization or something, and what that does.
Thank you.
Okay? Because I think that's just, in the long process we're going through, that's one of the things we're going to have to tackle. But I do appreciate Mr. Diskin's question now to make
Yes.
sure
Yeah.
we're moving forward. So, we don't get jammed up along the way and have to make a decision uninformed.
And-
Suzie, I'd like to acknowledge Ms. Gagnon, and then I'll turn to you, Mr. Collins. Ms.
I
Gagnon?
was just gonna say I'd be happy to meet with the board, informally, or through email or whatever, to go through, some examples of, other properties where Fish and Wildlife has accepted the open space and fee.
Thank you. And Mr. Collins?
Yeah, if I could just say two things. One is the reason why zoning bylaws have variants, such as yours, have a great deal of provision about conservation restrictions is because under mass law, you actually can't dictate that somebody gift land. But what I want to go on record is we actually do not want to put a conservation restriction on this property. We wish to gift the land in fee to either the Town of Ayer Conservation Commission or to Fish and Wildlife. we believe Fish and Wildlife makes the most sense. They have the resources, and it will serve the greater good for the wonderful state agency that Ann works for to have this acreage. It might turn into something that they can augment. So that would be our preference. That's not something that you can dictate. That's why I'm saying I'm putting it on record. We wish to gift this land.
Understood.
Either Town of Ayer or Fish and Wildlife, and would prefer Fish and Wildlife.
You got
Thank
that
you, Mr.
clearly
Clark.
in the minutes, that's all we
I
got.
sure do. Don't worry, we'll be in there.
Thank you. All right.
Mark,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
did you wrap up, or there's more for you from?
No, I just wanted, you asked me earlier to indicate where we're going with
Yes,
the preliminary
please.
plan process
Yes.
in the long term. Not necessarily to all be resolved this evening, but eventually we will also have to circle around to the RFP for engineering review,
Yeah.
which I'm working on. Dan Van Schalkwyk has got me some comments on that. I need
Yep.
to complete that. That will really come into play more with the definitive plan, of course, the engineering review. And actually, the preliminary plan process should be mostly complete by the time we start the engineering review in case
Yes.
things change. Things might shift a little bit, and we don't want the engineers to be reviewing something that will change. So, but I am aware of the RFP, and we'll get that going. Then we'll have the issue eventually of waivers to discuss, and that might be interesting. The issue of the road and the road length and all that will have to be discussed prior to our completion of the preliminary plan process.
Is there any of that we can actually touch on this evening? Or?
Well, just, I identified those in my last staff report.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to go down that road right now, because,
Okay, that's fair enough.
Take some time, but, certainly we need to do that.
Okay.
Also, soon, I believe, and the Conservation Commission representatives can correct me, I believe the applicants will be meeting with the Conservation Commission very soon to start the conservation analysis review process. And so that's a key part of our overall OSRD review process is the conservation analysis. And the Conservation Commission needs to get recommendations to the planning board on the open space. And so, I think, Heather's here and Jeff's may be in the audience, so they can update us on the schedule for that.
Okay.
So,
Good. Excellent. And I want to ask board members if you have any further questions for Mark or the applicant. So I'd like to open it up to comments from the...
Well, we
Yes.
actually had some things we
Oh, you
wanted
did?
to present,
Oh,
yes.
I'm sorry.
Forgive me.
I thought
He wants to go home.
Yeah, we'll be quick. We will be
I'm
quick.
kidding. I'm
okay,
kidding.
yeah, they,
Can
He asked
I, want me
me
to
which
run
one-
the
Oh, I thought
ballot?
the applicant already, all right, I'm sorry, now you just answered
Mark,
questions.
would you like
I'm
me to run
sorry.
the?
oh, yeah.
Let's hear you, let's hear
The
you.
You might get lucky it'll
The
work.
three files are up there, so go in whatever order you want.
So there are a couple of additional pieces of information that people felt would be helpful that Stan has put together. And then we had some thoughts. I think we wanted to talk to them a little bit about the parking area in the
Yeah,
park.
yeah.
So I'll let Stan explain to you what you're looking at right now.
So, I was asked to make this comparison plan a little more visible. And the area in white with the lots is what we are proposing now. That is what we're proposing for the current road. The one that goes up into the brown was the road that was previously approved, and all those areas that are in tan were part of the original subdivision, and now those will become part of the open space. And when that was approved, they actually started working in there, and this is from 2008. You can see that they actually went in there and did quite a bit of work, quite a bit of clearing, and really got going on the thing, and then it just died. But so now on this plan, where our road splits here, that's about 600 feet from Wright Road to there. Then around all the way around the loop is the total is 4,300 feet of roadway. And the old road, which went up here and all the way around here, that was 5,600 feet of roadway. So we're actually 1,300 feet less of roadway that we'd be creating by this modification. So I think that's fairly significant.
Yeah, and that much less impervious cover, if you think about it.
And then,
Go over those numbers again.
yeah, it's 600 feet to the split to there, and then the total length of the new road all the way around, from Wright Road all the way around, is 4,300 feet,
So it's not additive, it's 4,300 for the whole road,
The-
the first 600.
including the first 600.
Yeah, so it's basically 3,700 for the loop, 600 for the.
Yeah,
Right.
thereabouts,
And
yeah.
then the original road
Plus or
was,
minus a foot.
yeah, at this stage. The original road was 5,600 feet, which went all the way around. It had the two entrances. So the original road had an entrance here, and we're using one of the entrances for the road that we have, that we're proposing now.
So that's the entrance, there's no trailer on that entrance, correct?
On the
There's a-
entrance
there's a
that
trailer,
the
yeah.
entrance that we're proposing does not have the trailer.
That's the other,
Right.
yeah. got
So
it.
there's a couple of things after we had a site walk with the Conservation Commission on Saturday, and there's a couple of things we're looking at. There's the existing detention basin here and a proposed basin here. There's another one up here that actually doesn't appear that it was ever cleared when they did the original work. So we're gonna look at some way to possibly maybe reconfigure that, make it longer and skinnier so it's closer to the road, so we may not have to take out as many trees. And then there was another one that's down here that actually was cleared. That's
the one there,
this
yeah.
thing down
Yeah.
here. And then there's, whoops, wrong one, sorry. Then there's the other one that was up here, which that was all cleared. So especially the one at the north side, I think it actually makes sense to use that because it's already cleared and disturbed. That would make an ideal detention basin. The one down closer to the pond, we're gonna look at a way to possibly move that one up closer to the road, and that area could get restored. So that's the comparison. I think it's significant. It's 1,300 feet less road by this new proposal. And then we looked at a couple of things with the subdivision. I'll go over the smaller changes first. When we looked at this last time, I think it was Ken that asked if we could maybe find somewhere that would be appropriate for a park. And we thought that area down by Wright Road where it's already disturbed, this is where the trailer is, that we would need to restore anyhow, might make a nice amenity for a park with, there'd obviously have to be some fencing around there so kids couldn't run in the road or whatever, but it could be made into that's about 3/4 of an acre that I outlined there. And we're thinking we looked at areas on the site and that's the one that seemed to make the most sense.
And it would be something that the neighborhood could utilize, but also, frankly, we were gonna come up with a restoration plan. And given that it was disturbed and it's right there, it might make some degree of sense at this location, So we'll actually, at some point in the not too distant future, come in with a schematic design to run by the board for that site and see what you think of it.
And in conjunction with that, I just say we might look at maybe swinging this road out a little bit to get this piece of it out of the 100-foot buffer. So that would be outside of the wetland buffer. And then we had, going the wrong way.
But it's currently beyond the 50-foot though, obviously.
It
Yeah,
is,
so
yes.
Of course, okay.
And the utilities are already in it, so the right-of-way will stay there, but we could move the traveled way a little bit to keep that out of the buffer, and that might make some degree of sense.
And then we had a parking area under here, which Ken rightfully pointed out that he didn't think we could have that under the power lines. So we did move that up to here, and we're showing that they construct a trail connection to get to this existing trail network.
Yeah.
We just use the property.
Yeah, I know that spot.
That's a flat spot up there,
Yeah.
and that would work well. And then we did, this was the, you've seen this before, this was the plan that was approved in 2005, which had, how these are numbered is beyond me, but there's 36 lots there,
Yeah.
if you count them. The numbering is kind of crazy, but.
Neither one of us are responsible for the numbering.
So I went and used that existing approved road network and did a yield plan conforming to the current zoning. And there's 36 lots on that. So there was 35 approved without using any of this area over here, which Fish and, which Natural Heritage kind of didn't want utilized. I can still fit 36 lots under this, within the constraints of what was approved before. So we're proposing 35, there was 35 approved. We could do 36 under conventional zoning if we didn't need a special permit to do
Yeah.
that because the zoning changed.
Yeah.
But we can fit the number of lots that we're proposing within a conventional subdivision.
Thank you. I'd like to acknowledge,
Yeah, through you to, and Mark, have you reviewed that deal plan? Are we seeing that for the first time now?
It just came in.
I
Yeah.
just got it to Mark yesterday.
It just came in, it took a while for me to go through and determine that it was.
Okay.
And so I made copies of people.
Well, I'm just
They don't
confused.
read well, but
If
that
Ma-
reads better.
If Mark reviews it,
Yeah, I will be reviewing it more closely. Like I said, it just came in, so I
That's
can't
fine.
say I looked at it extremely closely, but I want to.
Just Chair, if I may.
yes, Jeff?
So I can't see that from here, even if I got close to it.
Yeah.
What's your average lot size up there roughly?
Those are, well, they have to be 40,000 square feet.
40,000.
Yeah,
Yeah.
1,000.
So one acre
Just double
lots.
checking.
Yeah.
Given the zoning in that area, they have to be
And
40,000 square foot lots.
They're all, some
With
of
the right
them, some of them are
frontage.
bigger than that
Yeah.
because they go all the way out to the pond. But yeah, they all
Yeah.
have 150 feet of frontage and 40,000 square
Okay.
feet minimum.
I just wanted to double check it, thank you.
Could you go back to the road as you're proposing it now, that illustration?
Maybe the first slide.
Right. I would just like to know the measurement from where this road, the proposed road intersects Wright Road to this. It's sort of
A straight line
a
distance
straight
there?
line, a straight line distance instead of a loop around.
you take half.
Yeah, whatever the straight line is.
I would say, I'd be guessing, but if it's
Well,
probably
you-
about 1,500 feet.
Okay, well, you can measure it later.
Yeah, I can get you
I
that.
can
for
do it
us.
right now.
Right.
The total is 43.
I didn't think so.
Take
Closer to
half, the
21.
600 off of that is 37, half of 37 is what, 1850? 1850 and 600 is 2400. It's gonna be about 2,400 feet straight up.
That's why we have Ken
I think-
do this quick math.
You get- If you take the loop as being the same.
Yeah, right, and
All right.
Mr. Diskin?
It'll get,
I took the dog leg out of the road, so I got closer to 21.5, but yeah,
I'll get you that number.
Okay.
a straight line in. And that's to the road, not to the back of the lots at the top of the property?
Right.
Mark,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
the road.
Yeah.
Center
just-
line?
Just for the road.
Use the center
Yeah,
line.
the center
Yeah.
line, Yep.
Does the board have further questions for the applicant?
The only other thing that I wanted to report on is, I am contacting Verizon to see if in fact that easement is still in active usage, and if not, would they consider extinguishing it? I'm told to have.
This one?
AT&T.
The AT&T.
AT&T?
Yeah, that one.
That AT&T, we're not talking about the power line.
Not the power line,
We're
no,
talking
because
about
that's active.
AT&T.
Yeah,
Okay.
but supposedly Verizon has rights to it at this point. But I'm also told to give very little hope that they would give it up. But I am inquiring about that.
Okay.
And you've also had conversations with
Yes, with New
Power.
England Power, yes. But it would be convenient if that easement wasn't right where it is. So yeah, I figured it was worth looking into.
Okay.
Before wireless,
Yes,
I
yeah, yeah.
All that,
before fiber, before wireless.
right, all those things that are antiquated.
So that is the update that we had for
Okay,
you.
thank you. So you guys are good with the update?
Well, no.
No.
Well, you said you contacted New England Power. Did you talk to anybody?
Yes, yeah, Liz Anzalone, I think her name is. Yeah, in Westboro.
Did you get any feedback?
Yeah, that should review the plan once we knew where the road was going to be.
I have a question about Mr. Dillis, you mentioned about maybe reconfiguring the entrance to get out of the 100-foot buffer zone.
Yeah.
Is there any other place that the road would need to be changed or a lot would need to be changed to get them all out of the buffer zone?
Well, the only thing that where am I? I'm going the wrong way,
Have you
sorry.
guys- have you looked at that at all, Jess? I don't know.
Not yet.
So we have,
I believe that's the only section of roadway
and there's
that's
a
in the
little bit,
buffer.
and there's a little bit of grading here that's in the 100-foot buffer, which I think we might have room to pull that over a little bit and maybe get that grading out of the buffer zone, even if there was a small retaining wall there or something. So, but that's really,
That's it.
This is really the only place that there's any significant work in the buffer zone, and it's already there. So, and we chose that entrance really for no specific reason.
Well,
other
the
than
utilities are
other
in
than
it.
the utilities are in there, but they're in the other right away partly too. But it just seemed that was the straightest shot. But in hindsight, maybe we can move it over a little bit. I'll have to look at that.
You said the utilities are in that section, that's not the way the plan is.
They're in both sections.
Yeah, they are in both sections.
There's drainage here, and the sewer and drainage is here.
Okay.
And I was asked a question about the manhole. There is a manhole up here. I think you asked me that question, Ken?
Yeah,
It's
wait.
buried.
Yeah, it's in
It's
the
buried.
middle.
I
It is
did.
buried.
I
Okay.
did look at our survey notes, and Dave did dig it up for us. So
Okay, so you feel comfortable that, the point I was trying to make the last meeting was that you feel comfortable that what you're showing us for utilities on your plan.
we've located
is
all those.
correct.
We've had Dave
That
dig them up.
doesn't need to be amended, that
No,
part.
right. That part's. Those are all in.
Oh, I don't think so. Okay.
The ones we're showing as existing are there.
Okay.
And when you say utilities, we're talking water, sewer,
Water, sewer, and drainage.
and drainage. Excuse me,
Well,
Mr.
please,
Chair?
of course.
For electricity, underground or above ground, have you thought about it yet?
It would be, I would imagine it would be underground.
It would be
I'm sure,
underground,
I'm sure the
yeah.
planning board would want it to be underground.
As a homeowner, I want it underground, but yeah. Thanks.
And I can't imagine that New England Power would be in favor of seeing
Yeah, that's what's
telephone
Poles in their
going
easement.
out of their easement.
Poles beneath the poles.
Yeah. Although it is that way in some places.
But
Do board members have further questions for the applicant?
not at this juncture for me, thank you.
Give me one more second.
I'm just going to give Mr. Diskin a moment.
Could I ask a question while Ken's?
Of course you can.
Of Heather or the Concom, have you guys sent out an RFP for the, you have, okay. When do you expect to hear something back?
It's on the agenda for Thursday.
Okay. But not to pick someone to do
Oh,
the
yeah.
RFP? Oh, it is, okay, oh, okay.
I got right on top of that.
Oh, okay, so maybe we should plan on being there. We didn't know.
I guess I'm just gonna keep going back to that, the work under the power lines, that, just as a general note, that I really need to see a lot of detail on what that road and the side of that road are gonna look like when you get to the final plan. Because when you go up there now, it's strictly a jungle and rocks, and I can't believe anyone would wanna have a home without, driving out through that unsightly appearance. So I'll be interested in how they respond to that and what you need to do to make that a really nice looking road if you're gonna accomplish that.
And my thoughts for them to have access would be where that road crosses now, is to have a a concrete apron, a break in the curb with a concrete apron that they could drive their big trucks over and stuff and not damage the pavement in the road. And, you know, our grading will go in there, will require some grading under the power line, so with their permission, of course, we clean it up there. And there are some pretty big rock piles all along the road there that would obviously have to get cleaned up because they wouldn't be able to build the houses with those piles of boulders that are there.
So I have,
Okay. Anyone else? Jeff?
We'll talk about the road under the power lines at another time.
Okay.
Because I'm aware that sometimes they require gates and things like that. But you'll check,
Yeah.
when that conversation happens, we'll discuss it.
Right.
Okay, good. Okay.
Right.
And now I'd like to invite anyone in the public to ask questions or comments that they would like to approach. Please, if you would, when you come up, if you could state your name and address, please.
I'm Colleen White, 29 Wright Road.
Hello.
Hello. I have some questions about the parking lot for the conservation land. Do you know how many spaces you're thinking about in terms of cars in the parking lot?
We're thinking like 4 cars, 4 spaces there.
Okay, so if someone else from the town wants to use that, so suppose on a Sunday, a lot of people from the town want to come down and use that, are they parking on Wright Road if they can't get into those spaces?
I'm sorry, we couldn't hear
Okay.
you. I'm sorry.
If someone wants to use the conservation land and there's no room in the little parking lot, are they parking on Wright Road?
Did you guys want to respond to that?
Well, I tend to believe that they'd actually park in the site itself because that trail entrance is probably 3/4 of a mile from Wright Road.
Right.
So I think they would drive into that general vicinity.
My thinking was that we don't want to make a 20-car parking lot up there. It just doesn't seem warranted. It just seemed like a few cars. It could be a couple more or not, but I didn't want to make a huge parking lot up there. And I wouldn't anticipate there'd be a lot of people there at any one time.
Did you want to speak from, have you learned anything in your experience about the use of the lot for the the available space at Rocky Hill, which is the Molten property that was given to Audubon?
There's 6 spaces over there
Mhm.
in a parking lot that Dave built, and I can't say that I've ever seen it spill over onto the subdivision road.
I actually went by there on Saturday after the sidewalk with the Concom, and there was 3 cars there on Saturday afternoon.
I'm sorry.
we have been there a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of, I've parked there many times because I've used that trail system often. The only time I've seen overflow was during COVID, the first months of COVID in 2020. That was the only time. Yeah.
I just
That's
anticipate if you're going to make it nicer, you might be inviting more traffic. So it's something for the traffic study to consider, that as well.
Okay, that makes sense.
I also noticed that you were looking at certain intersections on your traffic study. I didn't know if you could add the intersection of Wright Way with Wright Road, because there is a hill on Wright Road that comes up to meet Wright Way, which is also a hill. And trying to get up that hill and out onto Wright Road in the winter, it's very treacherous. And you're already talking about a bit of a blind drive going up to that.
Is Right Way one of the side streets?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll look
So
it
it's
up
very
later.
treacherous, a lot of people talking about, the summer traffic, but in many ways it's more treacherous in the winter because the road is more narrow. So that becomes a big safety issue. And also in terms of the traffic study, we're looking at a lot of things with people pulling out forward, but I know myself, I have to back out of my driveway, and especially in the winter, it takes a lot of time to turn, often different adjustments. And I have a hill coming up to Right Way, and then a few houses down, I have another turn. So the traffic doesn't always slow down there. So that's something else that I think you need to consider.
Thank you.
Yep.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, Colin, I wanted to comment on what you just said. Well, you could, I want to make sure that, Mark, when you talked about in the traffic study that ways to calm the traffic, is that what we're talking about? Like this potential graphics of slow down or some
Oh,
other
yes,
things
yes.
that need to be added?
Right.
That's in there somewhere?
Yeah, traffic calming. Yes, it's in there.
Okay.
It's
So
called
just-
lower intensity improvements,
Okay.
page 3.
You have to talk engineer.
Yeah, okay.
Well, if you can just add that particular intersection that I think is dangerous.
Yep, just one to look at. Yeah.
Did you have any further comments?
Yeah, I
or
wanted to
questions?
ask, and this is a very long project, how much blasting is going to be involved and vibrating of people's houses over 5 to 7 years?
That I don't know, but I can find out for you.
I just want to make sure that there's no impact on other people's foundations, if that's the case.
Well, the one thing I do remember from law school is blasting is absolute liability. So, God forbid, if anybody has a problem as a result of blasting, you actually don't have to prove very much. All you have to do is establish that the damage happened. So it is absolute liability. I do remember that.
And that is something that we will flag in the engineering.
Yeah.
Is that blasting and the extent of blasting and the timing of blasting will all have to be looked at.
Yeah. There was considerable blasting on the Groton side. This land was not called Rocky Hill for nothing, and Lone Star didn't buy it for no reason. They bought it for the rock. And actually, happily, with all the blasting that was done in Groton, there actually weren't any issues that happened. So I know that the company that Dave utilized was very careful. And I'm sure they'll be equally careful, but it's absolute liability.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
If I may, went through a project over in Acton, and oftentimes now blasting companies are required to pre-inspect. So they contact the people who are, who would be impacted by it, and they ask if they can videotape your house. Some people say no, which I don't understand,
Yeah.
because it becomes a process where you're walked all the way through it. And actually, over in Acton, they did the utility system blasting for their waterway, for their piping. The neighbors never knew the blasting happened. It was
That's
highly
impressive.
controlled for what they needed to do. So I'm assuming that it's done, blasting permits are done through the fire department, and I'm assuming they include that, but we'll make sure.
So I know there's been other areas that have been, had blasting in town,
Yeah.
and my house is definitely shaking during
Yep.
it.
And if I may accept a question from Ms. Gugino as a comment on this issue?
Yeah, just to say, I think when they go around and videotape houses, they do it within a certain distance,
Yes.
right? And I think from actual anecdotal personal experience, outside of that prescribed distance, a lot of people feel a lot of shaking from blasting when there's that much bedrock in the area. I'd also just add in our RFP for reviewing the conservation analysis, we have an item for looking at the impact of blasting also on the environment in that area.
No, and
Thank you, Jess.
I didn't offer that to ameliorate
No, but
the
it's
challenge
just-
of blasting. I'm
Yeah.
saying bedrock does go where we don't know where it goes. But
Right.
just over time, they've kind of gotten better at it, because exactly what Mr. Collins said, it's 100% liability right away.
And actually, there already has been blasting on the site. I don't know if you were living there when the utilities that were installed, but there was blasting done as part of that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to acknowledge the person with their hand up. When you approach, if you could give us your name and address, please.
Yeah. I just want to talk about the blasting issue a little more since
Name and address?
Annie Reed,
Thank you.
7 Wachusett Avenue East. So I had a list of questions from the last meeting, and a couple of them I didn't get to ask, and I wanted to ask about the blasting. We have obviously concerns about the noise and vibration, as you just heard. And the applicant's plan proposes the development of 35 new homes on the Loop Road. This includes a new road layout that differs substantially from the one that's there now. It also would require the removal of probably, I'm guessing, many tons of rock ledge for the segments of the new road and basements for the home and other associated site work. And as Mr. Collins brought up in previous meetings, this was originally purchased as a stone quarry. And I have...
Not by my client.
No.
Yeah.
100 years ago,
Yes.
whenever it was.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of rock ledge up there, and a lot of it's exposed and within the development site. And there's a thin layer of topsoil, and then you can just see the rock right underneath. And there's all kinds of ledge along where the road was cut in. And this is a big deal. And I've heard from my neighbors that when the rock blasting happened for the original road, that they got cracks in their basements. I don't know, but obviously, there would have to be surveys done and, documentation of existing basements so that they can inspect for damage afterwards, as you guys were just talking about. But, I heard from neighbors who lived there, I didn't move there until 2010, but that all the rock blasting terrified their pets, and they had to put them in basements, and it was so disruptive, that they just couldn't function with all this noise and vibration. And, I wonder what it's going to do to the wildlife up in the Rocky Hill Sanctuary. I wonder what it's going to do to the wildlife that's in the part of the site not to be developed. There are, bears up there and eagles, and, I've never seen a moose, but apparently this is part of their habitat. And, I think that, all this needs to be taken into consideration. And, just to expand on that, my neighbor, Jim Wheeler, who has built a new home about 100 yards away from this development site on Wright Road. He needed to, carve a basement out of solid rock ledge for his home.
You did blast,
He did blast.
not first.
Not at first.
No.
First he jackhammered for like 2 months.
That's a different story.
And then he blasted afterwards. And, but I think it would be naive to assume that there's not going to be any jackhammering going on up at this site. And it was the summer of COVID 2020, and me and Kevin Brejnahan and several other neighbors, had to work from home. And we couldn't function. We couldn't work during the day when he was doing this.
You weren't
We had
the
to
only
go
ones
down
home.
in our basements, or, I don't have a basement, so I couldn't do that. But, I have like a room that doesn't have any windows that I could go into. I mean, I don't want to be subject to this for months or years. And I don't think it's fair to ask the community to accept. I mean, at first it needs to be quantified, but when it is quantified, I mean, I don't know what mitigations can happen, but it's a serious issue. So I wanted to bring that up.
Okay, thank you.
And I have a couple other ones while I'm sitting up here,
Please.
if you want me to keep going. Okay. Sorry, I was just pulling this together while I was listening to the meeting. So I understand that you are going to move forward with amendments to the NHESP permit from 2005.
That's correct.
And my question has to do with permits that were issued by the town of Ayer in 2005 for the construction of the road, the installation of the utilities, and the creation of the 2 retention ponds. The NHESP permit and the MISA and the MIPA and all that, I'm learning about this too, Mark, along with you. Those permits are required as well, but the permits that were issued by the town to perform.
New permits would have to be applied for. The notice of intent, the order of
Okay,
conditions
so
that was issued
are tho-
as
have
lapsed.
Okay, so those old permits are not open anymore, they're closed?
Nope.
And that's not entirely, it's not as simple as that, but the one thing I can tell you is, with the Conservation Commission, you have to start afresh. Those the notice of intent has lapsed. They have a limited life, and work was commenced, but then stopped, and so they've lapsed. So
Okay.
a new notice of intent would have to be filed.
Okay, so if the old permits are no longer valid,
Through the chair.
then how does that affect grandfathering of the road
That's a
length?
completely different issue. So,
So I'd like just to
Yeah.
remind you, through the chair, just so
Yeah,
we can
forgive
keep
me,
order. That's
but-
okay. Please continue.
Okay, so that's just a question.
Yeah.
I didn't expect you to come up with it, but I know that the existing road, the length of it,
Yeah.
and the fact that it does not conform to the maximum allowed length, I believe, which is 650 feet. Maybe I'm
no,
wrong about that?
That's, no, that, and,
Through the chair.
yeah, forgive me,
Please
but
go ahead, Mr.
um,
Collins.
it's more complicated than that.
Okay, so,
Direct the question to me, and
Yeah.
then I can have.
okay, I'm sorry.
That's
So
okay.
anyway, I'm trying to, understand, how existing permits and new permits that need to be pulled affect grandfathering and waivers and current bylaws that would be imposed with the new permits versus old ones.
In the general,
Sorry, I
just,
know.
It's case by case. I can't give you, I don't know that there's a blanket answer for all of them because there's multiple things in play. So I'm not sure that I can give a better answer than that because it's specific to each permit, each situation. Mr. Collins, did you have a thought?
Yeah, and again, this is something you could write a book on. So,
You could write a book
Yeah.
about it.
and I could put you to sleep by having you read it, but, so, there is grandfathering associated with the Zoning Enabling Act that is associated with what we call the zoning freeze, and that is actually lapsed. However, the subdivision doesn't go, so, as I say, you could write a treatise on this. There are certain protections that lapse with time. One of the things that doesn't disappear with time is a plan that is approved and recorded. In this case, the 2005 plan actually complies with today's zoning. There were no grandfathering rights associated with that to the extent that zoning today is different than it was back then, but in fact, this actually, the old plan complies with today's zoning. But it's very complicated.
But does the length of the existing graded road, which is
That
Through
never-
me, through me, please.
Yeah, but
sorry.
forgive me.
Sorry. So what's the question? I'm sorry.
All right.
Does,
I was just, we can, I can, we can get into the nitty gritty at another meeting. I just, my issue was, how the permits that are in place or that have expired affect the grandfathering of, for instance, the existing road. And we'll talk later about, I'm sure we'll have another meeting about dead ends and all of that stuff, so.
Right, yeah.
that is correct.
Yeah, in fact, I will chime in. This is a very confusing area of planning and planning law. And, I believe our town council, KP Law, will be looking at all of these issues that Mr. Collins has just described. And, you know, I agree with him about the zoning freeze. I'm not so sure about the 2005 subdivision completely complying with our present regs, but we'll get there. We'll get there. Huh?
Mr. Chair, I might,
Please, Jeff.
since we're not considering a definitive plan at this point, number one, the road length is unknown. It's suggested to be 600 feet into 3,600 feet of a loop. That's an unknown at this point. So I don't know that we can actually use the time wisely to discuss a road that's not on a definitive plan. We are in preliminary. I'm encouraged to hear from Mr. Collins that the NOIs they do expire. I think it's 3 years for an
Yeah.
NOI, if I'm not mistaken. And so that they're working with the Conservation Commission on redoing that piece. And of course, some of that's going to have to wait until a definitive plan is laid out. So we're going to be having lots of conversations over time about this unique thing, about this unique plan. And it's a strange twist that the zoning never changed in that area since 2005.
Yeah, it actually is.
We have overlaid OSRD, which gives them the opportunity to do the same number in a much smaller space, which is where we are right now.
Mr.
Could I
Collins?
say just one other thing that might alleviate a concern that I think you have? I believe I'm correct when I say that no aspect of what's being proposed now is dependent upon grandfathering of any kind. This is a new submission
Yeah.
on property that was previously approved, but you could submit the plan that we've submitted regardless of the existence of the 2005 plan. So we're actually not asserting any grandfathering rights.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, if I may say one more thing.
Yes, Jeff.
We do not yet have a definitive list of waivers that are going to be requested on the plan.
That's an important thing
We're
to
still in
remember.
preliminary mode. We require that on the plan when we get to definitive.
Well, though.
We do like to have a
that's-
sense.
I
Yeah,
I'm going to give
understand.
the applicant a
I
sense.
understand,
Correct.
but yes.
So they can do their definitive plan.
But they may
Right.
choose to change the road.
They may.
Right, right.
And just while we're talking about the road, I just wanted to throw this in.
You gotta
I kn-
ask the chair.
Oh, sorry. Mr.
Sorry,
Chair.
Annie.
Go
No,
ahead.
no.
Go ahead, Ms. Reed.
The area of the road that is I guess, the westernmost existing loop road. So,
Over to the left?
yeah.
Yeah.
So yes. So that
road here?
area, the
That's
old
east.
road,
That's
you know,
east.
the old, like over there, yeah, the old road, like over there,
Okay.
yes. That area that where he just had his hand,
Yes.
that has been identified as a lower priority by NHESP. Just that small area, kind of south of the easement for the power lines and kind of along the west there, is the only area of the site. In other words, it was all rated, all of it except for that was in the top category.
Yes, oh, and I know.
And then
It's a
the next
conservation
category down was that land. And so it
Yeah.
would seem to make sense to me to shift the road away from Long Pond because there are areas of Long Pond Marsh.
Mr.
where-
Chair, excuse me.
So
This,
we
I
can't-
believe, is something that should come out of the Conservation Commission.
Okay.
Because
Well,
they're,
behind the
they're,
road.
Okay.
so under the OSRD, the Conservation Commission is charged with determining the value of the property and negotiating that with the developer.
Okay.
So I would suggest that it's a very important issue, but not something that we are capable or charged with implementing at this point in time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I have different topic. The traffic RFP that you had in the packet for tonight. Does this include data collection and analysis of pedestrian traffic?
Yes.
It does.
Yeah, we mentioned the beach.
It says something like pedestrian facilities, and I didn't know what that meant. Whether that was like storage facilities or whether you're actually going to request that the engineer collect data and analyze it for.
Okay, it says, evaluate pedestrian and bicycle safety for the road network area identified as for the traffic counts above. Given the proximity to the Sandy Pond Beach and fishing and cart-top boat launch spots along the Sandy Pond Causeway on Snake Hill Road. So part of that would be, you know, determining the count of pedestrians and bicycles as well as looking at the safety issues.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to say that, you know, I feel strongly that the biggest safety concern, because I live down there and I run on those roads all the time, is vehicle to pedestrian or cyclist collision as opposed to vehicle to vehicle collision. That's really, you know, not a big deal.
Yep.
So I would advocate strongly for making sure that there is.
And it is, it's part of the RFP.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and you guys are gonna fine tune it, I just
Oh, yeah,
wanted
we
to.
can
I just wanted
emphasize that in the
to,
scoping.
okay, and then the other thing that I wanted to bring up is that I have a major concern about large construction vehicles going in and out of the site. And this has to do with what we were just talking about with the rock blasting. You know, again, I'm just imagining that there are gonna be a lot of vehicles.
Annie, I'm sorry, you have
Oh,
to direct
sorry,
your question to the
sorry,
chair.
I know.
I'm still learning the Robert's
I know,
rules, but
okay, I'm sorry. And you know, the applicant talked about, you know, a 7-year, you know, construction period and, you know, running down that road with no sidewalk and 18-wheelers. I mean, when it's dangerous. And so I think that the traffic RFP obviously doesn't speak to that, and it can't, but I wanted to bring that up as a concern.
Oh, yeah, it does talk about I'll just read that paragraph. Given the amount of daily truck and equipment traffic anticipated during the period of construction, consider road quality, maintenance, and safety issues that may arise during the period of construction for Wright Road and the adjacent road network. Identify the applicant's fair share of any mitigation measures that may be required to accommodate these impacts during the period of construction.
Mr. Collins?
One thing I do want to tell you, for the most part, the equipment is delivered to the site and it stays there. Dave has been working on the Groton side since 2004, and none of his equipment has left the site. So it stays on the site. It doesn't travel to and from the site. It stays on the site.
Okay, so let me just say, Mr. Chair, my neighbor Jim Wheeler, okay, he had the equipment stay on the site while he was there, you know, working on his house. But there were several trucks of giant rock and rubble that needed to come out of there. And I honestly don't know where he took it, but it was a lot of stuff that was from one house site. So, if you will, it's not just about the construction
I
vehicles. it's
recognize
about-
that, and
Okay.
yes, and then we'll do it, and that'll be part of the discussion
Okay.
coming up about the disposition of the rock. But it's now,
Okay.
it's in premature, we don't know if they're gonna break the rock there and reuse it, so that's still an open question.
Okay, so,
Can I add one little piece of information? Forgive me. But again, the other side of the site, which has been underway since 2004, no material has left the site. So he reuses what is generated on the site. And I would imagine this will be no different.
Mr. Diskin?
When we met in a preliminary way before, during the other subdivision, we talked a lot about blasting, not here in this room necessarily, but at DPW, when we met with the applicant at DPW as we were going over steps in the process. And I asked him the question if he owned a rock crusher, and he did. So he crushes the rock on site. They use it for drainage below foundations. They use it for drainage in trenches. They use. So I have to concur that, to the best of my knowledge at this point in time, if there's blasting done, that the rock will stay on the site, get crushed and used on the site. In addition, it looks like, you know, blasting is a big issue in this room. There are technologies today that don't do any blasting. There are hydraulic technologies, there's chemical technologies that crack the rock. We're gonna have to look into that and find out if that applies to this particular case, and if we can put some conditions on that there's another method to handle the blasting technique. But there certainly are technologies that don't require blasting, that break up rock. So as we get deeper and deeper into it, I assure you that we'll look at those aspects and determine if they can give us a evaluation of the number of cubic yards, typically it's cubic yards, of rock that need to be broken up. Test, you must have some testing already, must know, have a pretty good idea where it is. Typically, the way you approach the site is you look at how many cubic yards of rock are in place, how many cubic yards have to be removed, and if it can be blasted, if that's the best approach, come up with a sensible approach to the blasting that's time sensitive, financially sensitive, and quiet. If that doesn't work, look at chemical alternatives, but definitely not that rock hammering, which we know we heard about many other places in town already. Very, very poor approach to getting rid of rock. By banging it with a hammer, it's just not going to work.
I'm not familiar with chemical approaches, but obviously we want to be sensitive to surrounding wetlands.
Yeah, obviously we agree. We don't disagree with any of these things.
Okay.
We agree with all of those things.
Okay.
But
Okay, so the last one sort of has to do with what I just mentioned, which is water flow professional engineer and third-party analyzation of storm surge runoff and proposed solutions.
Again, Mr. Chair, I believe we're still in the preliminary phase, and when we get drawings that look like a final drawing, we have to go to engineers. We have to go to DPW. They're going to have to get permitting.
Yeah.
So it's going to happen through a third party operation. And I think Mr. Archambault mentioned that in his presentation, that when we get to the point where we have to cross that bridge, we'll cross it.
That's what, remember I said earlier about the engineering part, that the definitive really gets deep into the engineering, and one of the deepest is, of course, the stormwater management, because of the seriousness of the issue. And it's something I know from, all of us know from experience, that we go over that exhaustively with DPW. It's a very serious part of the process that gets a lot of attention.
Okay, so just to piggyback onto that, I'd like to touch on what somebody else said at the last meeting, which is that there are, runoff issues associated with clearing the land and, putting lawns in where there used to be
You have
woodland.
to say it to him.
Woodland.
Yes, there always are.
And
Yes.
there always are. And, putting in lawns, the runoff coefficient is much greater. And there are retention ponds that were put in to manage just the storm water from the gravel road that was put in. And they do not work. And there are large pools of stagnant water that sit around for weeks at a time when it rains a lot. And they are, the ones that are there are located right next to the pond, Long Pond, which has been identified as such a pristine body of water in the state. One of the last, pristine existing, ponds. And I just want to reiterate that, I feel strongly that when the time comes, we should have some third-party review, because obviously the DPW approved those retention ponds to go in there in 2005, and they were constructed, and they don't work.
Well, they weren't fully constructed. So, and that's always a problem when you have a site that's started,
Right.
But again, they have to do a full review.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And
That's
our
part of the
peer review
process.
consultant, stormwater is at the top of the list
That's
of concerns.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just, on the radar screen, because the plan that I
It is
saw was
misleading,
locating
yeah.
new retention ponds all along Long Pond, and, just wanting to, bring up the issue that the ones that are there don't.
Again, Mr. Chair, I believe that's an issue for the Conservation Commission, not for the Planning Board.
Which part, Jeff?
I believe the location and management of stormwater runoff and location
Yeah, we'll
of
be
the
looking
ponds
at
needs the Conservation Commission's input
Oh,
at the
it's
same
their
time.
input, But it's also part of our
It
jurisdiction.
is part,
Yeah.
right.
I mean,
It's
the
mutual.
the
Yeah,
ultimate
yeah.
decision goes with the plan that is imposed by the Planning Board.
Right, yeah.
But
Might want to recognize that.
if Ms. Reed's,
Jeff,
I'm sorry,
Can I recognize Heather and Jess, and then if
Yeah,
Becky?
The location?
Those are actually outside, the proposed location is outside the Conservation Commission's jurisdiction, so we can't say. We can make suggestions to the,
Yeah.
to the planning board on where we'd like them, but we can't dictate it 100% where they go, because they're outside of our jurisdictional area.
Agreed. However, I think the Planning Board, and I'll speak for myself at this point as a member of the Planning Board, we would hopefully work with you all on the commission to find the best locations.
Thank you. Ms. Gugino?
Yeah, I would just say we are going to be picking our third-party reviewer on Thursday night. We have one proposal.
One
So we'll be going
It'll be
forward.
easy choice, huh?
We'll be going forward with that rather quickly. My question is, since this is the preliminary plan that we're working off of, one of the questions that we've identified we want the third-party reviewer to pay attention to is the location of the proposed stormwater basins, especially the new ones. And so my question is logistically, if we're still in the preliminary stage, how do we accurately have our third-party reviewer look at basin locations so we can give our recommendation to the planning board without it being definitive yet? It's just a little, how do we negotiate that?
Did you, so anyone before I open my
Well,
mouth?
I would say their preliminary plan that they submitted actually is sort of a hybrid. It goes beyond what most preliminary plans do. That's because they had the benefit of doing the definitive last year that they withdrew. So I think we have a pretty good idea. I think that would be something that the applicant and his engineer would need to work with the Conservation Commission to further study what we have, especially since they mentioned the roads might shift a little bit to try to bring it out of the buffer zone more. But I think the approximate areas and the close areas could be studied, and and maybe if the areas they identified will not work, we could at least ascertain that and see if there are better alternatives. I don't know, this sounds.
Stan,
Wait, hold on.
oh, sorry.
No, let Ken
Ken?
go first.
Ken,
Without
what's up?
making an assumption at this point, didn't you determine by testing that the locations that exist now that have been tested were potentially the best locations for infiltration and protection of the
Yes.
groundwater?
They were tested in 2005, and those detention basins or recharge basins that we show are in the location that was approved before. So they were tested, they were peer reviewed before, and we utilized those existing locations. Because as I said at the last meeting, we're looking at maybe trying to move a couple, but I don't have factual information that we can actually do that. So what I wanted to show was that the drainage that we showed would actually work.
So, and to get back to Jess's concern then, wouldn't it be clear at this point in time that if you were to make a change, you'd have to make it right now? Or you'd have to go with the testing that you had before in the location so that they could take a look at that?
Right. Right now, I want them to look at the locations that we proposed and
Okay.
give us our feedback on those. And then if they say, we would like you to look at moving this, we'll have to go out and do more testing to find out if there's adequate soils and redesign something. But I don't want to, I'd like them to review what's in front of them and give us their feedback on that.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Gugino?
So just a clarification, when we were on the sidewalk on Saturday, very back of the loop at the northern end,
Yeah.
there's a basin marked on the plan that's in a very vegetated area right now. And then we were looking at the area a little bit next to it where water actually naturally collects. And that's already cleared. I think you mentioned at the beginning of the
Yeah, I think we could, that's not,
So that's the sort of.
that's in the same general area though. I think what I'd like you is if the peer review says this should move 500 feet, or
Okay.
you should, not move 50 feet. So is that an area that's acceptable,
Okay.
that general area?
Okay.
She said.
And I think that makes sense to put it there, because it's just sort of just some other thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say. All right, yeah, Ms. Reed, are you?
Yeah, I just have
Thank
one
you
other
very-
one and then I'm done.
Okay, because we have, like, have other
Yeah, yeah.
voices up here as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask about, the potential taxpayer funds that would be used for, all these analyses and studies that are required for this development, and what portion of these costs would be covered by the applicant.
We pay for it all.
Yeah, the applicant
Okay.
pays for everything.
Okay.
You pay for nothing, believe me.
And the and what about repairing any damage to the existing roads caused by the increased, use of-
Normally, that's something that the applicant pays for.
Okay.
It's part of the process. Yes, Jeff?
And Mr. Collins, without putting you on the spot, we have a letter from 2004 that talked about reparations to the road due
That's
to
right.
construction and stuff, and I would imagine that the same letter would be
It's the same.
offered
That's
to the
correct.
town when we get to the definitive stage.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? Yes, please. Hi.
Hi, I'm Carolyn McCreary.
Hi, Carol.
6 Wachusett Avenue East. And I know that there's been a lot done on this plan since 2004, and it's quite different. And I appreciate the improvements to the plan. However, on the town side, some things have happened too. We have come up with a master plan in 2017, 2018, and we've also done this study of open space where this property is like the #1 spot for preservation. And I would just like to reiterate something from the master plan, if you don't mind if I read a paragraph.
If you could keep it.
It's a paragraph.
Thank you.
Okay. At just 9.6 square miles with less than 200 developable acres remaining, Ayer has very limited land available for future development. The town is no longer in a position to be permissive toward developers and landowners seeking to develop fiscally and environmentally unsustainable projects. New projects must be compact and are best suited to occur on underutilized rather than undeveloped land. Moving forward, the town's staff, planning board, and zoning board of appeals must review projects to ensure that they are in conformance with the master plan's goals to provide inclusive housing and economic opportunities. 2, maximize existing multimodal transportation options. 3, minimize fiscal impacts to the town for the cost of delivery of services. And 4, protect critical natural and cultural resources. I submit that this project does none of those 4 requested opportunities or, for the development in the town.
Well, may I respond first? I appreciate your comment. I don't agree with your assessment. I think that when you have 150 acres and a proposal is only going to develop 18 of them, and it's going to keep open another 132, I'd say that's very consistent with the goal of getting open space. And I can't see how that would be inconsistent with that goal.
But it is inconsistent with, there will be fiscal impacts to the town for the cost of the services to that area, and it doesn't maximize the existing multimodal transportation options. I mean, I'd love this group to develop in town, but the development really should occur in the core of the town, and redevelopment there rather than working on existing open space.
I would just observe that, yes, the preference is for that development toward the core, but we are talking about private property. And the town doesn't own this land. And the property owner has powerful rights. And so we balance our objectives through the master plan with the realities of the rights of property owners. And I think that the OSRD in general has been a process that we've implemented to see that we can work with private property owners and yet at the same time meet our open space objectives in a way that's fair to both parties. And I think that's what we're doing right now.
Could I just say one thing?
Yes, please.
And I mean no disrespect. There has never been a landowner that has offered to do what Mr. Moulton is doing for the town of Ayer. If you find me somebody else that is willing to develop 18 out of 150 acres, having already gifted over 500 acres right next to it, then we can have a conversation.
Okay.
You're never going to find another one like Mr. Moulton, and frankly, you'll never, I doubt in any of our lifetimes you'll ever see as generous a limited development approach to land as this man is willing to do. And he's been at it for 60 years, so he has a long track record. So again, and I mean no disrespect, but this plan graphically demonstrates the goals that the master plan sought to implement.
Well,
18 acres out of 150.
I do appreciate that. I do appreciate that. But on the other hand, it's not where the town really wants development to occur. It doesn't take advantage of our transportation, those issues that I just recited.
If I may, Mr. Chair?
Yes, Jeff?
It pains me to say this because I've worked very hard with the planning board to come up with goals that meet the master plan. As you know, Carolyn, we worked on the master plan together. When we looked at the town and looked at non-developed land, this land was not on the list because it had a development on it, accepted in 2004 by the town. So to claim that this land is non-developed land at this point in time is a little specious. We are it follows the OSRD. It is fortunate that we've been able to use this land. It's private property. We've been able to use it as a town. I think that's very fortunate. But I think and this is a similar presentation you made when this started.
Right.
I think it's disingenuous. I agree it doesn't meet multimodal transportation. It does have affordable housing added to it.
A little bit.
It has
and
20% of its affordable housing.
Yeah, I don't really want to argue this issue. I'm just saying that.
I'm sorry, Carolyn, but I appreciate that you point out the first paragraph of that chapter, not the second, third, or fourth. But I also do feel the board is doing a really good job of balancing the two. And I would assert that when the town looked at developable land, this land was not on the table then, in 2017 for the master plan.
Did you have anything further, Ms. McCurdy?
Pardon?
Did you have anything else?
No.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
I just wanted to,
Ken first, and then I'll turn to you two.
I think it's evident that this planning board has worked, hard to establish a number of goals that we think are in the best interest of the town. But we've always known, and Mark has pointed out to us, because that's what he stated when he first moved to town, that this piece of land has been sitting there. And it's shown on it's actually taxed, 32 lots are taxed as potentially developable residential land. The balance of the property is taxed as potentially developable residential land. In fact, it is not listed as open space in any document. But we all knew in the back of our minds how important this open space was. And we're taxed with a very difficult set of regulations that we need to comply with and to try to work out the best result. So I know members of this board have sat on other boards like I do about open space and recreation as well and some other things. So we're aware how difficult this challenge is that we have. So I ask that we all just take step by step and cooperate in the process to get what we hope is the best result. And that's about what we have to work with.
Thank you, Mr. Giskin. Yes, please. And then, Mary, first, I'm sorry, your name, I just don't know your name, but come on up, give your name and address, and then we'll go to Marion.
I'm Kathy Hebb, 12 Wright Road.
Welcome, Kathy.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good.
I just have a couple of concerns, and they've been probably beaten to death by now, but I just want to reiterate them because I just want to be able to express it myself.
Of course.
With all of the other building going on in this town right now, this is perhaps the last place that provides the natural habitat for so many types of wildlife. And yet this development further encroaches on that. And I appreciate that the owner has donated land for conservation. I appreciate that. I know that it would be the best scenario if the conservation entities were being able to purchase the land instead of going this route. But where we have to go this route, a major concern of mine is the traffic. Tonight, it was mentioned that there's possibly going to be a 36th lot up there. So we're talking 36 lots, 38 households on 36 lots. That That includes, okay, so you have 2 duplexes.
It's 37 on 35.
It's 37
Right.
units on 35 lots, I believe.
Okay. So if you figure that each house, each dwelling up there is going to probably have a minimum of 2 cars or pickup trucks or whatever. With everyone going to work, shopping, etc., going back, and going back, with all of the additional cars and trucks, delivery vehicles, and add the proposed recreational area, which again I think is a great idea, we're probably looking at an additional 150 to 200 trips a day on top of the daily traffic that we already have.
That's why we have a traffic study now.
Right, no, I'm just saying, this is my concern.
Of course.
All right. All of the additional traffic would directly impact Wright Road, Snake Hill, and Calvin Street. These roads were not built for this. They're narrow, windy, there's houses close to the road, and there's really nothing that can be done to change that. Snake Hill in particular is environmentally sensitive because you've got ponds on either side. The pond area roads are heavily used, as you've already mentioned, by joggers and bikers and dog walkers and children. I myself, I saw a child get struck by on a bicycle on Calvin Street this past weekend. The intersection of Wright Road and Snake Hill Road, as well as Snake Hill and Calvin, are very tight already. In the better seasons of the year, a lot of people park on Calvin and they access Sandy Pond for boat launches, fishing, swimming, and all of those things. So you have a bunch of people along Snake Hill Road. You have people walking up and down or biking up and down Wright Road. There's always people fishing on the bridge. And as you know, Snake Hill empties out onto Sandy Pond at a very busy town beach. So all in all, the additional traffic that this would generate, which would happen all day, not just at between the hours of 8 and 10 in the morning. I mean, I go to work at 4:45. I wasn't in that traffic study because they weren't even up out of bed yet when I went to work, and they probably were gone when I went home. So, and I know that for a fact for other residents on Wright Road. Speed, we already have an issue with speed going up and down the road. There's a couple of cars at the end of the road that, we've reported several times that travel way too fast. So all in all, the additional traffic that this would generate, it would happen. It spells a recipe for disaster, and I think it creates serious safety concerns for all who enjoy it in the town, not just the residents, but anybody that goes there. In addition, despite the land is donated, unfortunately, it's landlocked into the town, the development is landlocked into the town of Ayer. So we have the infrastructure, the police, the fire, DPW.
Could you go back to that? I just didn't get that part.
The development is landlocked into the town of Ayer. In other words, all of the houses are at the town of Ayer. All of them. Where was I? Okay, so, and also, with everything, with this development, and I appreciate that it's nice, it'll be nice, we won't see it, but there's one way in and one way out of that development, and that's down Wright Road, down Snake Hill, down Calvin Street. One way in, one way out. So you have emergency vehicles, additional traffic, and I know that I'm not alone in asking you to just please take into consideration these extremely important concerns of ours as you consider this project, in the future.
Well, thank you very much, and we certainly will.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Ms. Stoddard, do you want to?
So thank you.
You're
Mr.
welcome. I'm
Chairman.
going to ask you to speak up the best you can.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. So I live at 204 Autumn Ridge Drive. And so I I really appreciate the fact that Mr. Moulton is interested, concerned about the environment, and which he's demonstrated by work that he has done in Groton and with the planning board in Groton and with Massachusetts conservation, with Mass Audubon, and creating Rocky Hill. And what I hope is that Mr. Moulton will reconsider and that he will choose to sell his property in Ayer to the Massachusetts Division of Fisheries and Wildlife, and so that all of that land will be protected and will be added to Rocky Hill. And I think that it's going to be very expensive to construct the development that is being proposed, and I think that it may entirely possible that Mr. Moulton would realize more financially to sell it to Mass Fish and Wildlife than if he were to develop it. And but if he were to go forward and to work with the town of Ayer on a plan, I would hope that he would not extend the road beyond the power lines. I think that everyone who is familiar with the area knows that this is the most sensitive part of the property environmentally, and that Blanding's turtles nest under the power line, and to have the road go across the power lines twice would really create serious roadkill. Also, I mean, that would be a development there, and so there would be more incursion of people and disturbance on that area. Thank you.
Well, thank you, appreciate it. Ken, did you have a response or a question?
Stan, can you put the plan back up that you had up there?
I think I can maybe be able to, if the machine comes back on.
I'll do this.
Now Mark's got to do the magic.
What's the password?
The comparison plan?
No, I'm gonna go back to what I asked myself a long time ago and follow the same trend as Marion started. But it requires a lot of thought and a lot of compromise. There's a lot of open space south of the power lines that the CMP said needed to be given to open space. This piece right here, it's close. There's a brook over here, so this is open space. So my question always was, is there any chance that you can get a unit count that you're sensible with, make it 25, I don't know, make it some number that's smaller, and squeeze it by cooperating and giving up some of the open space south of the power lines to get all the open space back north of the power lines. I think I asked this before.
You did, yeah.
And we dug through it, and it just didn't seem to mathematically work out. And the reason I think it doesn't work out starts right at the very bottom where the land is so narrow. There just isn't much to work with at the bottom. It's not wide enough.
Right, and
The retention basin is there.
so the left side is very steep where the
steep,
tan is
and
very
it's got a little
steep.
brook over there or something, so.
And the area to the right that abuts the pond, Natural Heritage
Wants
to
that
protect that. That's
Right.
one of their key places that they want to protect.
So we end up with pretty much what we see there in the white.
I mean,
That's-
under the open space, that tan area to the right along the pond, that
It's
everybody,
untouched.
I could fit 10 houses in there, but
Can't do
the
it.
environmental value of that is worth more, in my opinion, and in their opinion, than preserving some of that area up above the power line.
So, because the development above the power lines, I think we all agree that that's supposed to be the most valuable. Well, we don't know because we haven't gone through the
Right.
conservation analysis, but I think we have an idea that it's been cleared and it's been worked on, therefore there's a chance that it's less valuable.
Correct.
That the centerpiece at the top being furthest from the border of the wetlands or Long Pond may in fact be a safer bet than the lower right section, which is closer. So no matter what, we just don't have a spot. We have to be in the middle and
I agree.
linear.
I agree.
I'm
You
just
can't
saying-
spread it out because you get too close to resource areas that are valuable, more, in my opinion anyhow, more than what's in the middle.
Can I add?
So
2
we have
cents?
tried, is what
Yeah.
I want to ensure myself
Yeah.
that everyone has looked at this many times, that this is not just a take it or leave it, that we've thought about this.
Oh.
I want to be convinced, is what I'm
Yeah.
getting at.
I have come up with several scenarios of how to fit that all south of the power lines, even if it's a few less lots.
Yeah.
And you can't do it. I can't do it. And without, I could fit, like I said, I could probably fit 10 units along the pond at the bottom there, but they'd all be in the buffer zone or very close to the wetlands, and it's a steep slope over there. It just doesn't make any sense to do that when I have a road that already goes through there and has been cleared.
Yeah. Can I add 2 cents to that, though? It also made sense to us really from the beginning, because the old plan had lots over there that Dave agreed not to develop. He was going to
Yes.
gift those. It actually aesthetically made sense that it would be nice to have the right-hand side of the subdivision road completely undeveloped down to the shoreline. It would be a very nice aesthetics thing for the open space to include all of that area all the way down to the shore, not only for the residents that will live there, but for future generations in town. It makes for nicer open space. Open space oftentimes is land behind somebody's house, and you really don't, that's not all that great as open space. This would be from the road all the way to the pond, and it's a nice entrance to the several hundred acres that it attaches to. So that's why it seems like a decent compromise, and believe me, I've said to Stan and to Dave for 3 years, everybody's life would be a hell of a lot easier if everything could be this side of the power lines, and it just doesn't work.
Thank you. In light of the hour and that we have more items on the agenda to go, I'm going to close this part of the discussion for this evening. We will continue the discussion, of course, about Stratton Hill to our next meeting.
And do you want us there at that meeting? Because you're going to be
Probably,
talking.
yeah, I
Okay.
hope that we have some proposals back for the traffic
Okay.
study, so we
that's
probably will
fine.
be talking about that as the primary topic.
Sure, and that date is?
July 26th, 2 weeks from now.
Yep. We'll see you on the
See you
26th.
on the 26th.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you all for coming, really.
Hey, Mark,
What
my
am I
dad
doing?
stands, vehicular.
Oh, right, it's the green one.
Just pull it out.
Yeah.
Thank you. You too. I hope you get out of here before 10.
Looks pretty good.
Mr. Chair, are you done with this for now?
You guys, would you like a quick break?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to call recess till 5 after 8.
Good to see you both.
Soon. And we're going to pick up with the town planner update. Mr. Town Planner.
Okay. For the next meeting on July 26th, I will extend an invitation to GPR to meet with us regarding Solar 2.
Oh, good.
I have a meeting with them for another potential development project somewhere. I'm not even exactly sure where they want to do with me. So,
Who's this?
2 days, GPR.
They have another project coming?
Somewhere. I don't know where.
You don't even know. It's just he just gave you a heads up.
In the
Yeah,
town.
Okay. Okay.
yeah. I don't think it's a big subdivision. But anyway, I'm meeting with them Thursday about this other thing. So, but I will, at that meeting, extend an invitation to meet with us on the 26th. regarding-
Beautiful.
As a protocol piece, should we invite GPR first or second? Just think about it, because we're gonna have this also next time.
Right. Maybe.
I think it depends on what the nature of the let's
Yeah, just-
find out and then we'll figure out the agenda.
I just lay that out there.
No, it's important.
That's one of those things I used to try and
Oh,
figure
no,
out
they
is
won't
who
be
comes first,
bringing
who
a
comes
new
second.
project to us
Yeah.
at that meeting.
No, that's just a discussion of, because also it requires Mr. Diskin to leave our company.
Right.
So the meeting starts at 6:15 with them, and he joins us at 8. So they-
Oh, God, help us.
Well, yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yep.
But
I think a lot will depend on how much there is for the solar tube, plus how much we really anticipate we can do with Stratton Hill. So,
Right, yeah.
and then but we'll be in constant contact.
No, absolutely.
We'll negotiate that.
Yeah, we'll work that out. Yeah, and I still have yet to reach out to Mr. Cataldo, but I will.
Okay.
And I wanted to ask Jeff, though, and the board, now that it seems Thursday mornings are not
No.
as good for site
I'm good for
visits.
Thursdays for a while. If
Oh,
it can
you
be
are?
early in the day, yeah.
Early in the day?
That day got
Okay.
shifted the
All
other
right.
day.
So I will try for another site visit on Thursday. Maybe.
Is 8:30 Thursday morning good for people? I mean, all things being
Are you
equal.
thinking this Thursday?
Uh,
No. You're talking-
yeah, no, next week.
Okay, yeah.
Because we have to post it, it'll be too fast for this Thursday.
Yeah, okay, that sounds
So it would be next week if
good.
we
And
have.
Cataldo?
Potentially, yes. But I will try for that.
Does anyone offhand know what the day is on that, Thursday?
The 21st.
Thank you.
He's not on the 28th,
Yeah.
that whole week.
Anything else, sir?
No, that's all I have right now. This project.
What have you been doing with your time?
Right.
So, thank you, what, go ahead.
Can we just follow up on the other ongoing construction that's going on in town? Where you wanna, can you give us a little more of an update? For instance, we have Aho under construction.
Right, yeah, I don't have.
Panther Place under construction.
Right, I know, I don't have an update this evening.
Okay.
But yeah, I realize that. we
The
like
high
to-
school field.
Yeah, and, oh, that's where we want Tulsaville, the high school. So maybe we can do high school and the other one on the same day.
Interesting enough, Cataldo has that project, so.
Right, hey, that's, okay.
Cataldo won
Okay.
the bids.
Right, so, okay, so the high school fields, I'll try for next Thursday. And
I
that one
don't,
too.
I don't know if we want to drop in Central Ave, just put in their water, their stormwater management system this week.
Oh, right.
Oh, the subsurface.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, we want to see that.
All right, okay.
You're talking about the new,
The 4-unit.
yeah, the 4-unit
Four-unit,
construction.
yeah.
That's a project under construction.
Right.
They're
Yep.
back and working. Yep.
Yep.
Okay. All right, I will attempt, well, between all three of those, we will have a site visit next Thursday, so.
And the other, the
So-
7 unit just finished putting in, when we met with them, the 7 unit on Central Ave. They were going to put in planters, and they just put the planters in this week.
Oh.
They're actually in.
They're very nice, yeah.
So they've stained them a gray color,
Yep.
and they almost disappear.
Yeah.
They also stained the guardrail there a gray color, and it enhances the property,
Yeah.
to my eye.
Nice.
Can I
Nice.
ask a question for a point of learning? When we talked tonight about blasting, and Mr. Collins explained that blasting was 100% coverable, that is not what the neighbors' discussion around Central Ave and the blasting has been.
You mean from?
And I don't need to get us into that, but I didn't want to ask that there, but I feel like there were neighbors that felt there were issues with blasting, and that was not.
It was definitely the neighbor that,
Yes.
the mechanic. But that's a good question.
Who would I ask that, or how would I, like, where?
Could we request that someone follow up with the neighbor and find out how that got resolved for our own information? I think it's a great question. The gentleman who lived to the right came before this board and
No.
put on quite a,
Yeah.
what's the gentleman's name?
Mr. Seeley.
Seal.
The Seeley family.
And it would be worthwhile to follow up with Mr. Seeley.
Because I just felt that was contradictory to what.
over here.
Yeah, go ahead, Heather.
I have his number on an old chicken permit in the files if you need it.
All right, that's on right.
Them
Road.
chicken people.
Yeah.
No, excuse me, that's on Central Ave.
Central
Oh, Central Ave, okay.
Mr. Seeley came before this board and
With solid concerns of
And the same with the gentleman for Alex's, that lives on the left side.
Okay.
I believe I have an email or two from him, or there's gonna be something in the file that I can see hopefully.
Right.
I dig it up in my free time.
Anything else for the town planner?
Was that a valid question to ask there? Just
Yeah.
because
Yep.
I didn't want to disrupt what we were saying here, but I was like, that information would have been
Yeah.
helpful for
Well,
prior residents.
I'm going to make an observation. Attorney Collins
Yes.
seems to be, if we break it, we'll fix it. That's kind of the way Mr. Moulton is coming forward. He's represented, he's represented this project that way in many ways. I'm just curious.
Understood, but he said
Yeah.
legally, he was saying it
I
as a
understand
legal
that.
expertise, and so,
I understand that.
okay.
So I think it's worth tracking
Yeah,
down.
What can be said orally, none of us are sure what's said orally when the rubber hits the road. So,
Well,
Yeah.
right, so if we're gonna hit some blasting road, I would like to know
Yeah.
where that
I think it's a
accuracy
great
is.
idea to ask the two neighbors
I
that
just,
were affected by
I
it.
just want to remind everyone that the neighbors on Central Avenue are much closer to the blasting than anyone could possibly understand.
Absolutely,
Right?
absolutely.
There's no one remotely, I mean, they're not,
Doesn't matter.
I know.
I hear you.
It's a valid.
It's valid, but perspective.
Yes, that's why I
Um,
thought now would be a better time to
perfect
ask
time.
such a question.
Sir, anything else?
That's it, so.
I want to thank Jeff for preparing the meeting minutes and Heather for being here tonight. Thank you.
Yay.
And I assume you got the minutes, you got the revised minutes.
Yeah.
Any questions or comments about the minutes? Any suggested edits? Yes, sir.
I did compare my work to Heather's work, and I think I had more errors in one copy than she had in a year's worth of minutes.
Tell me, it's an art form.
It's a challenge.
It's not. I don't envy it.
And I thank you very much, Mr.
Thank
Chair,
you
for
for
your
doing it.
taking the time to give it a read.
Not a problem at all. So do I have a motion to approve the minutes for June 28th?
So,
Hold on just a second.
There'll be discussion.
Wait.
What?
June 28th was the last time we
It's the
met.
last meeting that ever
Right.
met.
So these minutes were for the meeting.
these were June 14th.
Oh, goodness, I'm so sorry. I was reading it off of here. So
There's an error on the agenda.
there's an error on the agenda. I'm so sorry. I misspoke for the record. It's June 14th minutes are under discussion. That's my apology to everybody.
No one amended the agenda when we started it. It was
Yeah.
on all of us.
It's on
You
all of
asked.
I know, it's on me too. I didn't.
Move to approve the minutes, June 14th,
I got
as
a
submitted
motion,
and
sir.
corrected, and submitted and edited.
Seconded.
Okay. Firsted and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Chairman votes aye. It is approved. Old business, new business.
I have a couple of new business, but I'll wait for everybody.
I think we kind of covered my old business issues when we were talking in the town planner update, honestly. Continuing to watch projects in town and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't have any items. Ken does.
I have new business.
What you
No
got for
more-
us?
No more old business. Okay, so FYI for the planning board, it may not be a known fact that the 40B on
Right, Fitchburg Road, 65 Fitchburg.
has submitted their comprehensive permit
Wow.
to the zoning board of appeals. And it's been advertised, wait a minute. It's been posted, I don't know if the advertisements have hit the newspaper yet, unless they put them in
Yeah.
a non-paper or whatever. But the meeting, I think, is usually like a week from today, maybe,
Yeah,
a
it's,
week from tomorrow.
It's a week from tomorrow, July 20th, I believe, is
So-
when they open.
As a matter of course, the zoning board of appeals has the statutory, requirement there. But I guess I'm thinking off the top of my head that they may reach out to the town planner or the planning board
May.
for a little bit of oversight.
They will, and
So keep that in mind if you would, Mark.
they've hired a consultant to help the ZBA oversee the process, and I think they'll be reaching out to the various boards regarding, comments,
Okay.
design considerations.
And thank you, Mr. Diskin. The Aero Affordable Housing Trust has a meeting tomorrow afternoon at 4 p.m. where the proponent, Noah, is actually going to sit down with the trust to start the application process for CPC money. They're coming to the town for don't know what the amount of money is right now, but the application has to be started in order to be acted on in time. We have a time frame of the end of the summer time, September time frame. So we got to get that has to start working. So tomorrow evening, the Affordable Housing Trust is convening at 4 p.m. Noah's our big agenda item
Excellent.
at that point.
Wonderful.
So just FYI, again, people may be aware of this, they may not be. There are very strict time limits on 440B applications and milestones
true.
that need to be accomplished.
Yeah.
If those are not done in precisely the right way, they can get constructively approved very easily. Okay, so what ends up happening with a 40B is the state favors the applicant all the time. They're in a favorable position, and the town is this particular case is going to be in a cooperative position, I believe, not an adversarial position. But there's still a very strict. They have to get so many things done in 90 days, 120 days, and so on. So probably all should be keeping our eyes open about that and the process. Unlike this process, I don't think there's apt to be, I'm referring to the process earlier, that there's apt to be questions about let's extend it or let's do that. This is going to be, they need to get it.
Yeah, and to that point, the Affordable Housing Trust has written a letter of support similar to the Board of Selectmen and other boards around town. If you would like, Mr. Chair, I'm more than happy to do a quick, this is what we did in the meeting, because the Housing Trust meets once a month, and we've got some meat right now. So at the next meeting, I'm more than happy to discuss it if you want.
Yeah, that would be great under old business.
Okay.
That would be wonderful. I would appreciate that.
Yep.
Good. Anyone else have anything else? I just want to say one thing, just thank you to everybody. I'm a bit bumpy, and I appreciate your patience with me, but also, just really, just the conduct throughout the meeting. It's been very helpful at all the points. I just wanted to say thank you. So, that's it.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah, I have one more question.
Lay it on me.
I almost said move
Yes,
to adjourn.
You don't do anything with the building permits anymore.
Well, I do.
Oh, you still
Do you have a
do?
specific question?
Anything on the shop and save? Did you
That,
want
as far as I know, I don't think that permit's been issued yet. They did come in and apply for a building permit for a section of it, for one, property, I think it's Advanced Auto Parts. Trying to look for additional information on that. I don't think he got that before he went on vacation, so I think that's still one of the few applications that's still sitting on his desk.
So we basically, just to remind everyone, they just came in for a simple amendment. We looked at a stormwater change. DPW approved the stormwater change, so they did not require anything further in the way of amendments to the site plan. So they go right to the building permit.
Right, yeah.
Okay, good.
And then we'll have another process of, again, just observing the site work as it's done. They have to make sewer water connections, stormwater, so forth. So it'll just be another project that will have a chance. And I think I'll have to leave this up to Mark, but I don't think they didn't. I think we talked to them about whether they would need a land clearing 9.6 permit. I think we found out they were prior to the
Oh, yeah, they were prior to that
that
requirement.
amendment.
I also
That got
believe,
approved.
Did you ask that question?
I also believe when they did some test borings over there, they decreased the amount of land they were going to go on to.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Yeah, there's a reduction in impervious surface.
There was a reduction
That
in
might not
surface
be a
over there,
reduction
which I
in
think
clearing.
got them under the hurdle, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Under the bar.
I'm just running it by everyone on the
Yeah.
board that
Right.
And it
if
was,
in the event that we see something going on there and someone says, wait a minute, we didn't even see that go to the planning board because it was so many years ago and simply got extended in a couple of tiny amendments, this board is aware.
and the-
2016, 17, yeah.
you're going to remember better than me, Mr. Diskin, but I think what happened is the desire that they wanted to do didn't meet with what Mass DOT wants them to do with the front of the property. So they are required to do a couple of things if they did everything, and they chose to do less, and in a mutually agreeable situation with Mass DOT came to us and said, this is the amendment we need, because they actually ran into a change in Mass DOT. So they're not going to reconstruct the entranceways, they're not going to reconstruct the island out front the way they were going to, because it would have required them to do a lot of off-site work on the road for Mass DOT. There's an easement across the property that they triggered. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And when they came in for the amendment with us, part of the discussion was that it's actually become phased now.
Yeah.
So this is phase one. The second phase will trigger what Jeff is talking about, because there'll be another building on the, I guess it's the south side. The new building's on the north side, meaning left, it's on the right, but if and when they go to the next building, which they have on the site plan, they'll trigger the requirement to comply with Mass DOT and stuff like that. They don't, but
It's
the
a sig-
amendment, you found,
You're the one who
question
figured it
about
out.
the retention basin and things like that.
Yeah.
They fixed all that up,
So-
they put it more in the back than in the
Mhm.
front.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I'm just saying it because as we go around town, people might ask one of us, you know, hey, wait a minute, we didn't even know about this, and it's been around for
Okay.
4 or 5 years.
Yeah, they got, yes, it's been
Okay, great.
approved. Yeah.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Seconded.
Have a wonderful evening,
Heck
everybody.
yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.